Hello everyone and welcome back. This is a two-part review of the Neabot NoMo, a relatively new robot vacuum cleaner with an auto-empty docking station. The other part of the video, which I'll link above, is a tabletop review. In this video I conduct all of my usual tests and take a close look at the app. In the tabletop review I look at the physical properties of the robot and its auto-empty docking station. So if you want to know what I really think about this robot, and I do have a lot of very strong opinions, you'll want to watch both videos. Okay, so we'll begin with the hard floor cleaning tests. And one of the first things you'll notice is that its exhaust fan is blowing the debris around. Now, I've got popcorn, oregano, dog hair, and flour. And the popcorn is large and light, so that makes it especially prone to being blown around. Other types of debris might not be as vulnerable to that, but it is, indicative of not the best design. Ecovacs robots have this problem, but robots like Roborock have figured out a way to channel their exhaust away from the floor. But overall, it does a very good job, picks up pretty much everything except for the stuff that it blows around. You'll notice that it does a very good job with the flour, which not all robots do. On the first pass, most of what it left is the popcorn that it blew around. If you notice the white stuff and parts of the cracks of the floor, that's like road salt that I tracked in and haven't quite cleaned out of the floor, so that has nothing to do with this robot. You can see on the right there the popcorn that actually wasn't there to begin with, that this robot's exhaust blew there. The brushes don't scatter as much debris as most because they spin quickly when they're on the edge of the cleaning area, but they slow down when they're in the middle, which is a nice implementation. So on pass 2, it picks up pretty much everything. So overall, I'd say that this is an excellent hard floor cleaner. Its only downside is that exhaust. Now, on carpets it didn't do that well. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's about as good a carpet cleaner as a Roborock. This is a combination of dog hair and birdseed that I've stomped into this low pile rug, and I don't have the facilities yet or the ability to do a deep clean test, so you'll have to go to Vacuum Wars or another channel for that. But as far as surface cleaning, it's okay. It left a good amount of hair and some birdseed in the rug, which again is about the same as Roborock S6 Max V did. So it's not a horrible carpet cleaner, but it's not the best. So if you have primarily carpets, this might not be the best robot for you. And that's really one of my only criticisms of this robot. So if you've seen my Clash of the Titans video where I compare the Roborock S6 Max V to the Ecovacs T8 AIVI, you'll see that this did about as well as the Roborock. Left some hair, a little bit of birdseed. Considering how much stuff I put in this rug, it's not that bad. I did a floor scratching test, like I do with every robot now, but just like basically every other hybrid brush robot, it didn't scratch the plexiglass, so there's really nothing to see here. Up next we have the navigation tests, and these were very interesting because I kind of messed up a little bit. So I put the chair in the wrong place, and on the first pass the robot snuck past on the left side of the chair. And right now, I'm busy being angry that I positioned the chair that way. When it did that, it went to that bar stool that's on the top right that blocks the normal path that it uses to return home. So I repositioned the chair and redid the test, and it found its way through. Eventually, it's not the best at this. But when it did get past this chair, it avoided that bar stool wall completely and just navigated the rest of the obstacle course like a champ. So that's definitely a pass for this guy on both attempts. Now, the next time, it did something weird. Apparently it learns, which is the very interesting thing that I learned from these tests. It decided that this chair was too much of an obstacle, so it just gave up and went on this weird trip all over my living room trying to find some alternate way through, which it should have known it couldn't do because it's mapped it before and there are solid barriers there. So I figured that because it seems to learn, I would try to reset it, and I did that by moving both chairs and just guided it through with the remote control to show it that there was nothing there. And I tried it again. But its learning seems to have stuck, and even on this pass it decided to give up and just went away. So I find the fact that it learns as it goes very interesting, so I moved the chair to see if it would pick up on that, and it did. And then it navigated the rest of the obstacle course. The learning is quite good. It doesn't change the map, it just seems to remember the obstacles that are there. So I reset the map from the cleaning history and let it go home a couple of times just to kind of like fully reset it. And so on the next pass, it did find its way through the chair, and after it did that, it went to the bar stool like I wanted it to. And here I tried to push through the way that the Roborock S6 Max V did, and I was too lazy to put the tape down, so I had to run in there and grab it a couple of times to keep it from pushing it. Once it gave up, it went the way it's supposed to go, navigated all the obstacles. And again, this learning capability is very interesting. Its navigation is quite good. Maybe not as good as a Roborock, as far as chair legs go at least. I don't know why it did that, by the way. Maybe because it hit the chair rather with the bump sensor, so it didn't know where it was. But the learning capability, I've never quite seen that before. A robot will either change the map or not learn in this way, so it's very interesting. Here it is navigating around chair legs, and it's got 3 infrared sensors, or rather, sorry, 2 infrared sensors in the front and 1 time of flight sensor. So, and I talk more about that in my tabletop review of this robot. So, using that time of flight sensor, it gets very close to the chair legs. A little too close sometimes. I don't know if you can see, but it snags them on that gap between the front bumper and the rest of the robot. And I'm pretty sure that has to do with how close it actually gets to these chair legs. That wall hugging sensor is quite interesting. This robot does get closer to walls than any other robot that I've tested. I think that other than snagging stuff with that gap, this is the best robot that I have at getting around chair legs, getting close to them, being gentle with them. It bumps at speed less than any other robot that I've tested. It's just very good at this. Very interesting to watch. So because this is a LiDAR robot, one of the downsides of this sort of very precise navigation is the fact that it treats soft barriers as though they were real barriers. You can see how it goes around the edge of this curtain. And this is fairly typical. Basically, almost every LiDAR robot that I've ever tested does this. The only one that doesn't is the 360 S5. It has an option in its app to push through soft barriers, so when it doesn't know what's a soft barrier and what isn't, so it'll try to push through everything. But here's the Roborock S6 Max V. It's doing the exact same thing, as is the T8 AIVI. If you want something that will completely push through the curtains and ignore them, you want a V-Slime robot like this Roomba i7 that will get right under the curtains and clean what's behind them. Alright, so after all of the tests that I just ran, this is what the dustbin looks like. So we're going to run it through its auto empty process, and we're going to see how well it does. I'm not actually sure why it has to turn around. I don't mean turn around to empty because the port's on the back. I mean turn back around to charge, because it's got 2 little connectors, same as charging connectors on the back, and I guess those tell it when it's positioned, but I don't see why those can't be wired to the charger. So it should just, I don't see why it can't just back up and stay backed up. Well, I'm sure they have a perfectly good reason. I just would like to know what it is. Not that it bothers me that it turns around. It's actually kind of fun to watch. So, let's see what it did. Okay. Kind of curious. Now, normally this thing is empty when I go to clean it. When I go to clean the robot. Oh, actually, it's empty now. This is actually a really good job. People, other reviewers, I've seen them have problems with this thing emptying stuff. Maybe it's just like large jelly beans or stuff like that it has problems with. But it seems to work really well. Okay, let's talk about the app. Neabot's app is deceptively simple, but it's got a unique feature that I've never seen in any other app, and it's fully featured in other respects. The only thing it can't do, and I don't know if this is app related, is respond to Google or Alexa commands beyond just, go clean everything or stop. It can't do, for example, hey, whatever, go clean the bird cages or go clean the front door. But that's something that Neabot has promised to address in a future update. So it's a very simple app. You've got your clean button and you can clean everything, or you can pick one of the zones that you've defined. You've got your schedule. You know, it's fairly standard schedule. You pick what rooms to clean, what time to start, what days of the week, etc. Nothing special here. It's got a history. And this is neat because it can restore a map. So if you change your battery, and the maps are stored on the robot, whereas the history is stored in the cloud. So you can, if you change the battery, you lose the map on the robot. You could restore from one of these. You push this button, it'll ask you if you're sure, and I'm not because I don't want to change my map. So, you know, you've got your settings, and the settings, there's not a lot here. You can change the power level. I usually keep it on regular. This dustbin emptying frequency, in theory, I guess it's supposed to send the robot back to the dustbin, to its auto empty station to empty the bin. But it cleaned my entire floor plan without doing that, so I don't know what it does. Maybe in a larger house it would work. The voice settings here, you could have different languages. I wish that they would have not just female voices, but male voices, or like, you know, funny robot voices, like a Cylon voice or something. That would be nice. There's more settings here. You could set your units, language, firmware update, etc. So the unique and special feature that I talked about before that I've never seen anywhere else is related to how this thing treats its rooms and zones. So the first thing you need to know is that it doesn't differentiate between a room or a zone. Everything is a zone. So if you have a room and you want to create it divided from other rooms, you create a zone and put it over it. The other thing about this is that each zone can be set to either a single pass zone, which is in blue, a double cleaning pass zone, so it'll make 2 cleaning passes there, or a no-go zone. So again, everything is zones, and this is brilliant. It makes this process simple, powerful, and the best part of this, okay, let's make a new zone. Let's get out of here, go back in, and let's create a zone called Film Zone, because I'm filming, and that's what this is for, and we'll hit the plus button, and there it is. Let's scroll up, and let's drag this thing over here. Now again, we could make this a single pass zone, a double cleaning pass zone, or a no-go zone. Let's keep it single pass zone. And the way you change it is you drag these things, and you can make it any size you want. And with the addition of these plus and minus buttons, if you press and hold, they drag, so you could change the shape, but if you quick press, it adds or subtracts a point. So I can add as many points as I want. I guess there's a limit, but I haven't found it yet. I mean, I haven't gone crazy with it. And I could make basically any shape room that I want. So let's add another one. And then I'll drag this here and this up here. Now I've got this crazy room. And those of you with completely rectangular houses might be thinking, hey, this is not a big deal, okay? But I've got this strange kitchen transition that you can see on the map here. It's a raised floor that has a 45-degree angle, and this robot is the only one that can do this. So aside from that, another thing it can do is it could have zones within zones, as you can see here. The way you manipulate them is a little clunky. So when you make them, you could put them anywhere you want, but then once you click somewhere else, only the zone on top is accessible. So to get to the ones underneath, you have to move it out of the way, then move this around, and then put this one back. So that's the app. It's a great app. It makes this robot fully functional. Once this thing has Google commands or Alexa commands that can send it to specific zones and rooms, I think this is going to be, you know, short of artificial intelligence, which is kind of gimmicky to begin with, this is going to be the most fully featured robot on the market. You know, I'm always changing which robot I would pick if I had to have just one. At first it was the i7, then maybe it was the Ecovacs. I think that once they do that Google thing, it's going to be this one. And for the price, I mean, I got this thing for $420, and it can do all this. It's just absurd what you get for your money. At this point, it's hard for me to recommend any other robot unless your house is mostly carpets. You know, and this is, as you've seen in the test, this is only an okay carpet cleaner, kind of like a Roborock, nothing special. But if you have mostly hard floors, I think that this is the robot to get. The price of this robot fluctuates a lot. It's usually $499, but it goes on sale frequently. I bought it for $420, as I mentioned. At the time of filming, it was $449, I believe. And for a robot with this kind of performance and these features and an auto-empty docking station, the price is just ridiculous, and as I said, it's really difficult to recommend anything else. If you want to know more about this, please watch my tabletop review. I linked it in the beginning of this video, and I'll link it again in the description. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. And until next time, I'm Mike, and this is Mr. Rubato.